There are rumors now, but when the police finally left the house, the neighbors whispered only about the lights that burned at midnight, the voices that shrieked and died away, the ambulance that didn't rush. Jessica stood on her back porch, arms wrapped around herself, still in her floral apron, hands trembling as she replayed her rehearsed account about the man in the gray hoodie who had slipped through the unlocked door. The officers had been kind, shocked of course, by the carnage, by how the air reeked of iron under her lavender-scented candles. She'd told them what they wanted to hear, that a stranger had come for them, had stalked her book club for weeks. She described his voice, deep and hissing, how he'd told her to keep quiet, or he'd kill her too. That was the part she had almost started to believe. After all, she could still hear it now, in her head, slithering between her thoughts like a coil of smoke. Jessica, the truth was messier, rooted in jealousy and silent frustration. For months their meetings had been a tangle of snide remarks, hidden jabs at her parenting, her marriage, her home's tacky decor. It was Carolyn, of course, who'd started it all, who'd said that surely no one actually read the books, especially Jessica. It was Sophie who'd laughed, wine slopping over her gold ring, months of smiles and venom, all poured into a single night, when Jessica's hands had moved, as if guided by someone else's rage. She could still see the broken teapot, the ruined carpet, the glint of metal, but in the cold aftermath, her trembling mind had done what it needed to survive, invented a stalker, a faceless evil, an urban ghost. Each night since, Jessica lay in bed and watched the faint glow from the street lamps. She kept thinking about the gray hoodie, about the mask she'd described in such detail. People in the neighborhood stopped her with sympathetic glances, eager to hear more about her miraculous escape. It should have been cathartic, but every face in the street's reflected window panes seemed to waver, to twist a little at the edges. Sometimes when she looked away from her own reflection, she'd catch another glimpse, someone just over her shoulder, hunched in a gray sweater, mask glistening with a red mouth. Perhaps it was guilt, some festering echo. Perhaps it was the house. She hadn't had the carpets properly cleaned, and sometimes she woke to see a stain blooming, the exact size of Carolyn's hand. Upstairs, doors creaked of their own accord. She tried to explain it away, but after the third time the baby monitor crackled to life with the static lace sound of women laughing. The remote switched itself off. Soon Jessica noticed footprints in the garden, muddy treads that didn't fit her husband or son. She started seeing shapes outside the windows at dusk, standing just where the porch light died. When the phone rang, there'd be silence, followed by a breath that sounded almost like words. She began to wonder, had she made up the stalker, or had she called him here, conjured from the hatred that pooled and festered in that living room? At the next book club, she set the table as usual, 6 places just like before. But as the first guest arrived, Emily, white-faced and trembling, Jessica saw, reflected behind her in the glass, the shifting outline of a man in a gray hoodie, smiling, beckoning with fingers stained and slick. And Jessica understood, at last, that he had never left, and never would.